cameras, for a while there was very controversial, and I guess they are
Yes.
now, depending on which way they're facing the driver now.
Yes. Yes.
I think everybody now realizes the importance of them
Yes.
from just verifying what actually happened if
Yes.
there's an incident.
Yeah.
What are you guys learning? How's the camera? Do you see something else that we're not seeing from a driver? Because we kind of keep basic in this industry. We don't go, oh wow, that bell and whistle will do 10 other
Yes.
things, but we're using it for one thing, right? So what are you
Yes.
seeing as far as helping drivers with the cameras and how that's really helping the industry?
Yeah, I mean, the camera technology is for drivers is it's evolving fast as any technology is. AI, as you well know, anybody who's keeping up with the news and stuff like that, tech news, AI is just kind of exploding in terms of industry. So I think that's first thing that's important to use AI in your tech stack.
Right.
For any tech stack you're in really, because it's going to give you some definitely an edge, and you're going to be more efficient, more dynamic, and be able to do more and serve your customers better with you're using great AI. I think some of the standout issues in relation to cameras at the moment is it's really interesting. We come across customers, prospective clients who are actually no cameras pointing at drivers, like
Right.
absolutely not. And that could be driven by company,
Yeah.
could be driven by union, just could be driven by it might have a private fleet of drivers, and it's just a culture.
Right.
They don't want to upset the drivers. You're spying on me, all that kind of stuff. And then you have kind of a flip side of it. And I had at the seminar actually where that we were both at a while ago, a woman who she's not using our cameras. She's running a fleet, a lady, and she's a safety manager for a fleet. And she just came over to chat. And it was interesting her perspective. She said, "We have cameras, and we'll always have cameras, and cameras are amazing." And cameras promote driver safety, so they help drivers be safer. And I said, "Well, that's our pitch. It's driver safety." And then she said, "Well, you know what? Cameras are everywhere in life." And it was, I knew it, but
True.
I thought about it. I
Very
was like,
true.
what an angle. She says, "You go into the bank, you're on a camera. You go to the store, you're on a camera. You're always on a camera.
Right.
What's the difference? It's just because it's kind of in your face." And I said,
Right.
"God, that's a great," and that was her perspective or her fleet. She tells people, of course we have a camera pointing you. We want you to be safer.
Yeah.
We want you to come to work, and going to go home.
I'm not
So
sure
I think
I want to
that's,
see what's on those cameras, though. If you know drivers from a hell, what is it? Standpoint of cleanliness and all that, I'm not sure
yeah,
I want to see what's on some of these cameras when you.
true. But in practical terms, if you think about it, if you're sitting watching all your drivers on cameras, that's not viable.
Oh,
That's not work. You're not getting your job done. If you're the boss and you're doing that, it's like
yeah.
that's to me, that's like, so in terms of, for people who don't, haven't experienced cameras and don't know a ton about them, the best way using cameras is like our camera system is, you're basically flagging driver events. So you're flagging the exception, the events that potentially contribute to less than safe driving. And that's if you boil it down, kind of simplify it. So those are the things you want to tell the safety officer about, or the fleet manager. And even at that, you can parse those, and you can kind of tweak those a bit. Stuff like the AI is kind of incredible now, because our software, you can basically have situations where if you take your eyes off the road, the camera sees you're not watching the road, you can have an alert after X seconds, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. But then we had an application where there was certain drivers, and they had to kind of, whatever route they had, or whatever kind of facility they were in, or wherever it was, I can't remember exactly, but they had occasion to turn and look away for a few more than 2 or 3 seconds.
Right.
So we had to tweak that a little bit to say, no, that's okay. They're kind of, they're not, their eyes are off the road, but it's for a few seconds. So that's the beauty of the technology. You can tweak it.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that, because I was just thinking as you're saying, I go, what happens when a guy's backing up? I'm not looking,
Yes,
the
exactly,
truck is moving, but I'm looking out the
Yes.
window or mirrors or wherever, right?
Exactly. So that's all. So that kind of So in the market, what's really interesting in the market, like any market, there's tons of
Yeah.
options. But there's always going to be that kind of, technology-driven, software-driven companies kind of at the top of the pile. There's tons of hardware. So some companies would be, you can go on the internet, or, there's companies will sell you. They want to sell you dash cams. And that for me is the big red flag. So I never say to people, oh, I'd love to sell you some dash cams,
Right.
because well, so what? How many? How high can we stack them, type of thing. It's not that. So I never approach it, and we don't approach as a company from that vein at all. It's about the solution. So it's we want to help you improve your driver safety, and also other road user safety. And the dash cam, if you think about it, or the cameras, because we do multiple cameras, are data collectors. They're collecting the data. What do we do with the data? What does the customer do with the data? I had somebody the other day in the demo, and the owner of the company said, you know, when you great question. He says, when we get all of these events, like, what happens with them? And I said, well, that's up to you. We can send you all the events, we can tweak it. And oh, okay, so we don't have to get dinged every second. I said, no, that's not practical. But we can have a tiered way of kind of dinging you for like, if someone's falling asleep in a cab,
Yeah.
right? That's kind of critical type of thing. But the speeding events, there's harsh, all that stuff. So I think in terms of our system, kind of fundamentally what you asked, and kind of what's a little bit of the difference is, it's the safety center. So we have an element of our system which is actually literally called set. You click and it's safety center, and you have a lot of features that all contribute to increase safety.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's our philosophy. Don't sell cameras, sell safety.